Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Peace. Welcome to another video. So for today, I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about my Drytron list and why I think that this is honestly one of the best decks out there. For me, at least, it was really fun to play with while I played with it. Usually, I do retire decks after I get first place with them, like I did with my Dragon Link list previously, and what was the other deck that I was playing? Can't remember, but Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk Bird Up. So I just wanted to actually do an in-depth deck profile / combo video for this deck. And then just anyone that's interested in Drytron, it's relatively budget. So this is Alpha Thuban. The Drytron monsters all have a stipulation where you contribute a ritual monster from your hand or field, or a Drytron monster from your hand or field in order to special summon themselves from hand or grave. So most of your combos are going to start off with Alpha because this is the searcher for the ritual monster, which actually gets you to your Ben 10, which is heavily abused in this deck, because every time Ben 10 is triggered or tributed, its effect activates in Graveyard on resolution, allowing you to search any light fairy from your deck to your hand. So back when this deck first came out, Ben 10 was a 3, so essentially if you got access to Ben 10, you were able to have infinite tribute fodder for all your Drytron monsters, and it was a great advantage engine. So this searches ritual monsters. So Gamma is the same thing. This searches ritual spells, though. Next we have, I called this Zeta, right? Anyway, next is Gamma. So Gamma is a Monster Reborn. So it Monster Reborns another one with 2,000 attack from your graveyard. So it can only reborn the babies. It can't reborn the big guy. But you like reborning the babies anyway, because this lets you overlay into one of the new boss monsters. It's not new anymore, Muveta Fafnir, which lets you dump a ritual or any Drytron card from your deck to your grave, and then it also allows you to use its materials as ritual summoning fodder, which is really nice. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. Next, we have 2 Delta Alteus. I don't play 3 because I feel like 18 main deck is a little bit too, like, it's just enough. The math works out. So essentially, I cut this down to 42 cards. I couldn't get any lower than 42. And I calculated that having 43% of my 42 card deck as Drytron monsters, I would be able to play like 99% of the time. So 2 Delta, this is the Upstart Goblin. Essentially, once you activate this one's effect, you show a ritual monster or a ritual spell in your hand, and you get to draw 1 free card, which is really nice. And then finally, Emmanuel doesn't think this is an actual card. This is Drytron Beta Rastaban. It is a real card, and I wanted an extra name. It's the one that no one plays usually. Even in maxed out builds, it's just 3-3-3-3. No one ever plays any of this guy. This one returns a banished Drytron monster to your graveyard. And I like having a different name, and sometimes it honestly comes up. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 here, and then we have the other searchers and extenders totaling to 18. So these are essentially how you start your combo, and then every combo on the internet is essentially starting with these 2, Alpha and Zeta. So I'll be showing a combo after the deck profile of that, and how the combo has changed over the different iterations of the deck. So what I ended up doing was whittling down the ritual monsters to just these 4. The Cyber Angel engine, and then the OTK guy. It's very useful having a 4,000 body in your deck. So I'll talk about Drytron Meteonis Draconids for a second. So it cannot be targeted by monster effects, and it's got the 4,000 attack, so you will need to tribute 2 of your Drytron monsters to summon it, because the ritual spell of the archetype allows you to ritual spell using the attack of machine type monsters instead of using the levels. So that might be confusing for new players, but I mean, who knows? Who knows who's going to be watching this video? So I just wanted to make that clear. So this takes 2 Drytrons to summon, and it's 4,000, 4,000, can't be targeted by monster effects. And then during your opponent's turn, you can banish you can banish monsters from your graveyard whose attack equals 4,000 or 2,000. So you can banish 1 Alpha, or you can banish a Zeus and a Ben 10, or a Natasha to add up to 4,000. Based on how much attack power the monsters that you banished off of, that's how many cards you get to send. So if it's 2,000, you get to send 1 face-up card on your opponent's field to the graveyard, and it's a send, which is awesome. It does target, unfortunately. And then 4,000, you get to send 2. So if you banish 2 Drytron monsters from your graveyard, with this effect, you can send 2 face-up cards on the opponent's field to the graveyard, which is nice. And then also, this can attack all special summoned monsters. So you use this to play around all kinds of stuff. In tournament, I was facing a Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk board. I think I may have hand-trapped them, but either way, they were ending on Apollosa and the Double Dragon Lords. Double Dragon Lords does target. So my 6th card was Meteonis. So I was able to Ritual Spell activate, tribute Gamma and Alpha from my hand to special summon this, and I was able to attack over the Double Dragon Lords for 24, and then over the 3 Material Apollosa for 16, and I was able to play in main phase 2. So neither of those disruptions did anything in the face of this guy. So it's not always going to happen, but it was a niche scenario, and I'm glad I top decked this, because otherwise I don't know if I was 100% going to be able to play. I did have Nova in hand, but I didn't know if that would bait the Double Dragon Lords. He obviously wouldn't let me attack over his Apollosa, and Apollosa is pretty devastating to this deck, which is why we play a lot of other engines that don't utilize monster effects that can help out. And then going over to the Ritual or Cyber Angel engine. So we still keep the Editon in here because just in case we want to make Beatrice, it makes it a lot easier because this build is not running Diviner of the Herald. And then also we want more materials for Natasha, which is an insane effect. I briefly covered Ben 10's effect earlier. So when this is tributed, you can add any light fairy from your deck to your hand. All the Cyber Angels are light fairies, so that's good. But you also have your starter in the form of Manju as well that you can search off of this, which is really nice. I'll show that to you in the combo. The effect of Editon that might come up is when it's tributed, you can gain 1,000 attack for all of your ritual monsters, and that's a permanent effect. And then also, if it's ritual summoned, you get to search a ritual spell from your deck or add a ritual spell from your grave to your hand. So this effect can get ashed. No one's ever ashed it because you're usually adding from graveyard, and I don't know if people know that it can add from deck, but it can. That came up when I was running the Vendread build. Then we've got the Cyber Angel Natasha, the most broken card in the deck. This allowed me to break a Prank Kid board very convincingly. And then also in another game, I was able to set up the full board of Dagda DPE through Nibiru. I was able to steal their Nibiru token, gain a bunch of life, and then continue linking up. So it was really nice. So Natasha's got 3 broken effects. Its first effect is that it can negate any attack on a ritual monster, period. And that's an infinite effect. Like, you just negate as many attacks on ritual monsters as possible while it's on the field. Its next effect is while it's on the field, once per turn, you can target another monster or any monster on the field that you control, including itself, and gain life points equal to half that monster's attack. And then the most broken effect that I alluded to earlier, its steal effect, is that if it's in the graveyard and it was properly ritual summoned, you can banish a Cyber Angel from grave and target a monster your opponent controls. Now, this is the order of the effect. It special summons itself, and then it steals that monster. So even if they out their own monster, you're minimum special summoning this to your field. And then you take their monster, and then you can gain life points from there, which is really awesome. And it's like why I think this deck is amazing. So with the Eva ban, you no longer have access to all those fairies that you had in your hand before. So I did end up cutting the Herald package. So Herald is essentially a 2,000 attack power ritual monster, Herald of Ultimateness, and he's a light fairy, so he's hyper searchable by this deck. Essentially, the old board would just end on Herald, sometimes an IP Masquerena and something else, maybe a Beatrice, and then that's it. But that Herald monster can actually, not once per turn or per chain, discard or send a light fairy from your hand to the graveyard to negate the activation of an effect or a spell or a trap or even the summon of a monster. And that's it. Like the decks used to end on several negates, but I feel like that's not really good anymore because you don't have an easy way to get a bunch of fairies into your hand. So I cut the rituals down to just this. So honorable mention for rituals, and I'll show the combo later. I don't agree with the megaliths because it's bricky and you just add a bunch of more ritual monsters into your deck and it's unnecessary. Also, the Vendread Battlelord package, I really liked this package because it's essentially Azathoth. But I'll explain that a little bit later with one of the older combos that you may have seen in one of my other Drytron videos before I got my DPE. So, next up, let's talk about the fairies that you can search. So you have Manju of the 10,000 Hands. We don't play Diviner. We want more room in our extra deck. I also don't own Diviners, which is pretty funny. And then also this is a level 4. And you only need one. Sure, Diviner has the ability to dump Intis or a fairy from your deck, and it can change itself to level 6, which is very useful in making Beatrice, but I don't think any of that's necessary anymore now that we're not playing the Herald build. I'm budget for life anyway, well, as budget as I can be. But this essentially accomplishes the same thing as Diviner, except it's not a level 6 body, it's a level 4 body. It uses your normal summon, and it can either search a ritual spell or a ritual monster, but it does not cost you any space in your extra deck, and you don't feel the need to play more than one of it because you don't even really need to normal summon in this deck. The other extender that I ended up on is Chaos Valkyria. It has an activated effect in the hand that banishes a light or dark from your graveyard to special summon itself. So usually I'm banishing Zeta, but I can grab it back later in the combo if I have access to Beta Rastaban. So the banish doesn't really matter. And then if you do banish this off of Draconids, by banishing this and like Nightmare Unicorn to get to 4,000, you can actually dump a monster from your deck, a light or dark, I believe, but that never comes up ever. So yeah, you do use these two in tandem to overlay and make Abyss Dweller. So that's really nice. And having an extender in a Link-based deck is amazing, so it's really nice. Some other light fairies that you can search, Lancia. So this is a Floodgate hand trap, which is essentially the whole idea of the deck. Ensure that your opponent cannot play. Also, be able to break apart boards. Drytron is very good at that if it itself is not floodgated out. We can play through Scythe in this deck because of the existence of Meteonis. If Scythe is the only thing that you're dealing with, which is sometimes what those boards end on, just Scythe and possibly one negate, you can easily get to Meteonis and then destroy every monster on their field by attacking without going into your extra deck. And then it is also a disruption on your opponent's turn. So that's why I still play this one of. If I do side out a ritual monster, it's usually Edaton. But yeah, these three are honestly the best ritual monsters. So I just want to make a note of that. So essentially, the idea of the deck, like I mentioned, is to floodgate your opponent out of playing the game. A lot of decks, especially at my locals, banish a lot. So I think Drytron is the only kind of, it's not even a meta deck anymore, kind of like top tier deck that doesn't banish. I can't really think of any others. This completely shuts down Dragon Link as well as Droll and Lockbird. It completely, it hinders Fluanderies. They can't plus off of their interactions, and their board is usually a little bit less powerful. They can still end on everything, but they can't chain block all of their stuff. Not that you're playing very many other hand traps anyway. But Phantom Knight, which I've been seeing a little bit at locals, this hinders them severely as well. There's just a myriad of decks that Lancia hurts. Sword Soul Tenyi, it makes them play awkward because they can't resolve all their Tenyi effects. There's a lot of decks banishing. Even the monkey flip decks. Not that I see any of those, but they can't activate their extravagance. This also stops prosperity, and this also stops the Brave Engine if they only had access to the Water Enchantress. So I find myself shotgunning this a lot because I don't really fear Gamma that much because I'm just a badass. Anyway, the other searchable floodgate is Scythe. So Artifact Scythe may get banned on the next ban list, or they might hit Artifact Dagda. If they do hit Artifact Dagda, whatever. I think we'll still play this ratio. You'll just have to change your end board a little bit. Instead of searching these two Light Fairies, you'll have to search probably Manju and then search the Scythe. But if they ban just Scythe and they leave Dagda alone, I think it's still worth it to play Dagda on principle just because access to Lancia is amazing. But in the side deck, what you could probably do is side out the Destiny Hero package against a deck that does not banish and put in the Dragoon package. And you'd feel a lot better about that. Obviously, we don't play Dragoon in this deck, but it's pretty good in Drytron. I know I give poop to a manual for it, but it's definitely good. Dragoon's amazing. You get to just pop boards and negate things and gain attack. It's just crazy. But this deck is a Floodgate deck. We are trying to Floodgate our opponent out of the game, and the best Floodgate right now is Artifact Scythe Turbo. So yeah. So these I consider going second cards, and for a list of 42, I wanted to have 10 minimum going second cards, so I would have a very high chance of opening a going second card at all times. All right, so next up is the DPE bricks. Now, I did pull a Dasher, so I decided to play Dasher. I was originally playing Plasma, and I was justifying it by saying, this deck is locked by the Drytron monsters. So I'm unable to actually special summon any monsters that can be normal summoned or set. So essentially, like, that's why this deck can't play Gamma or Dangers or anything else that would make this deck broken. Even the pencil plume thing, the Talismandra or whatever it's called. So my idea was just to play these two, but I found a lot that if my DPE was getting outed, I was having to special summon my Celestial, because this can't be special summoned by that effect. It needs to tribute 3 monsters on your field to summon from your hand, which would lock me not only out of my Drytron effects, but it would also lock me out of my draw 2, so I couldn't dig for Mystic Mine. So essentially, I took out Plasma in order to play the Dasher, so that if I do have my DPE outed, I can at least summon Dasher, link it off, get it into grave, make some plays, and then draw 2 free cards to set up defense so that I'm not dead next turn and I can play again on the crackback. So that's why I switched over to Dasher. The other effect is Summon from Hand never comes up, and I don't play Malicious because it's generally weaker. Sure, it can special summon from deck, but like I said, the Drytron monsters have that restriction on them. It locks you out. And I don't want to play any more bricks and raise the card count or anything like that. So Dasher was just the obvious choice here, because it needs to be level 6 or higher, I believe. Yeah, 6 or higher. So you can't even play Dynatag to increase the attack or anything. You're forced to play a level 6, which is Dasher. So next up is the 3 cross-out designator targets. These can also function as going second cards. I was drawing Nibiru and Droll yesterday. It was really funny because I was able to Droll one of my opponents and stop their turn, and then I was able to Nibiru 2 of my opponents, which was really funny because, yeah, these 3 are in your main deck. So with the Lancia, that's 6 total so far. These are cross-out designator targets. I will talk more in detail during the combo portion of the video about why these cards can screw you over. You can usually play through Ash or Ogre and stuff like that, but if you stop the train of adding to your hand, or if your entire field is tributed, or if your Mubeta Fafnir gets impermed and you don't get to dump, then like it's pretty rough unless you have a lot of extenders. Like I said, you can play through Nibiru depending on the hand. And then like I don't play an Ogre in here, which would be pretty cool. But my Mu-Beta Fafnir gets ogred all the time. I still get the dump. And that's the important thing, because usually at that point, you still have a ritual in hand that you can tribute off. So, I didn't include an Ogre in here. So that's 6 total going second cards so far. So keep that in mind. Next up, let's move on to the spells. So 3 Cyber Emergency, I picked these up when I was assembling the deck. So all of the main deck Drytrons are very cheap, and I happened to pick up a Meteonis in trade for really cheap. It was like $2 at the time. And then I already had all the Cyber Angel stuff. So essentially, like, I had this deck already. And that's why I always like joke around and say that this is budget, because I pulled my Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. You don't need to play the Verte engine at all. You can play this even more budget and with the Megaliths. So I can probably show you that sometime. But essentially, the only reason I play this deck is because I started it as budget and I accrued cards over the time, because I kept on seeing deck profiles of this deck doing really good and I wanted to try it. So I picked up 3 Cyber Emergencies. This is probably even cheaper now because these are supers. So yeah. And if you opened any of the set, you probably opened a field spell. I think I have 4 copies of this. This is the one investment that I did make though. By owning a Nova, I can play the field spell, which goes in line with terraforming. So the field spell can search your $12 Nova. It was very painful. I still cry when I think about purchasing this. But this one special summons one from deck, and it's broken. It's a hard once per turn. So if you activate this, you can't activate another one in hand. Same with this. But that's just my little mental justification for like playing one and not buying some more. I already have 18 names. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the 12 that I have main deck. That's 18 names out of 42 cards. So that's 42% of the 43% of the deck actually. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, essentially this puts a body on board, which is really nice. And it's one of the main reasons you play Link Rebo in this version as well, so that you can get it off board so you can tribute one of your other cards. But Terraforming, I'm very happy that I get to play this powerful one of on the limited list, because it also functions as a going second card, because we play Mystic Mine. So that brings our going second cards up to 7. Fafnir also can search the Ritual spell, and like I mentioned before, the Ritual spell can tribute machines from your hand or field, or Mu-Beta Fafnir materials, in order to special summon ritual monsters from your hand or graveyard, and then it can add itself from graveyard by reducing the attack of a Drytron monster on the field by 1,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. So I know that's a lot to take in, but essentially this is one of the best cards in the freaking deck. You get to just ritual summon for free. And I was actually very lucky to open it against that board of Apollosa and Double Dragon Lords, and then top deck the Meteonis. That was just a cracked hand. Anyway, moving on. The final 2 are well, we still have one more going second card later on. The next is the Floodgate Mystic Mine. So this is an actually very intellectual card. I know people get tilted about this, but I actually tried to play when I Mystic Mine my opponents. Which is a little bit less tilting, because if you're just trying to deck your opponent out, then that's kind of sad. I did have to deck out people, like the other day I had to deck out John because he stopped me. He was playing Fluanderies. He stopped me from outing his Barrier Statue of the Wind. Since I couldn't out it, my only win condition from that point came down to decking him out. Fluanderies does have inherent outs to Mystic Mine, but he misplayed and he got rid of all of his outs to this. So essentially you can banish cards off your field with that Click Play spell, but he didn't realize that until he had no more targets in deck and it was close to deck out. And then also the card that lets you tribute cards on your opponent's field, the Continuous spell, he got rid of it too early, and he was unable to retrieve it. So that I won that by deck out. And then also against Jacob, Jacob Solbeck. He was playing Phantom Knights, and he did not respect the mine. I activated it, and I was waiting for my Harpy's Feather Duster to get rid of his Fog Blades that he had set in order to play through and kill him. Unfortunately, he decked out before I was able to get my Harpy's Feather Duster that I had sighted to destroy his back row and then kill him. Like, I was not planning on like decking him out, but needless to say, he did call me some bad names. He was very upset about that. But this is a very skillful card against boards that do not have spell and trap negates. You can activate this, and then you can make your Zeus, which actually, when you use Mu Beta Fafnir, that actually sets up your combo to play after you summon Zeus. And Zeus is a machine monster, which means that you can actually use the ritual spell to tribute your Zeus to special summon one of your ritual monsters, which is really, really nice. So yeah, essentially, this demands a negate, which is why it's an amazing going second card. Even going first, I find that when I brick, if I have a way to put a monster on board, I will activate Mystic Mine, I will put that monster on board, and my opponent will usually pass. I have several outs to Mystic Mine in my own deck, in the form of Crossout Designator to negate my own mine, drawing into the second mine and setting it on top of my mine, or drawing into Terraforming or the Drytron Fafnir field spell to just activate over it. So there's a significant amount of outs in my deck to Mystic Mine. And if I'm able to Mystic Mine them and I can't make Zeus, I will wait until I can have access to DPE, and then I will break apart my opponent's board with Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer. So essentially, if my opponent always has 2 or more monsters on the field, they won't be able to activate any effects while I slowly pick apart their board every single turn. Mystic Mine is pretty skillful, and people do get tilted, like I said, but it is a legal card in the game that Konami decides is okay. You can say all you want about Scythe and how it's ruining the format, and Mystic Mine's a crappy card, but they give us all these cards, and they have a ban list. They address the problems that will make them the most money, and the Brave Engine outs this every single time with their bouncy spell, the Draco back. So if you're going to play this, ensure that you destroy their equip spell with like a Nightmare Phoenix, or well, you're better off like removing the monster, because then it can't re-equip itself. So I've had to do that before, and then Mystic Mine, and then wait until I have enough accrual to destroy my opponent, and that's how I destroy them. So Mystic Mine's one of my favorite cards besides Fairy Tale Snow, which unfortunately I had to cut from this deck because it just wasn't worth it. But this card's like so good, and it just wins. I wish I had secrets. I'm gonna have to pick those up. Next up, this card's amazing. I like that I draw it sometimes, but I do draw the other bricks as well. But this card's amazing. You get to summon Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer with materials from your deck, and then it's just amazing. Like, when you hard make this and you have Mystic Mine on the field, and if your opponent like even tries to play, end phase, Fusion Destiny destroys itself. So Fusion Destiny has a stipulation that it destroys the monster at the end of your opponent's turn. So it destroys itself. Now, neither of us control any monsters if they didn't decide to play. So Mystic Mine destroy. So I can activate the effect of DPE in graveyard to special summon during the next standby. Special summon a Destiny Hero monster from our graveyard during the next standby phase. Then Mystic Mine checks if there's any monsters on the field. And the monsters on the field are equal to each other on both sides of the field, 0. So this destroys the Mystic Mine. And then next turn you get special DPE, and then you get to do full Drytron combo. So, I just love it. It's just so good, and it convincingly wins games. So I'm very happy with this. It's also another crossout target, like, but that will probably never come up. Speaking of Crossout Designator, this card can hit any card in your main deck. Any card that is giving you a problem. I use this to negate Nibiru's, Drolls, Infinite Impermanences, Mystic Mines. My opponent, Xavier, he Mystic Mined me when he was playing Dogmatica Invoke Shit All, I think. And I ended up drawing this. I had a Mystic Mine left in my deck. I activated it, and I was able to OTK him. So this is another out to Mystic Mine of your own and of your opponent's. So that's really cracked. It can negate Call by the Grave. It can negate Fusion Destiny, Mystic Mine, Nibiru, Imperm, Celestial Draw. If you haven't gotten to your DPE package and you don't think you're going to, just negate this when they try to draw if you don't have your Lancey already. I almost forgot. I was able to use that on an Artifact Scythe, because I always keep my Scythe in going second, and because this deck is so good at breaking boards, I consistently break boards and set up the Scythe block going second, so ensuring my opponent cannot play. So this is an amazing crossout designator target, and that's basically it, because you're not really negating anything else besides those. So crossout designator is really cool. I'm kind of glad that I only have 2, because then I'm not trying to play 3. Because I think this is really good at 2, and you have the Call by the Grave anyway. One of the cards that I had removed that was working pretty well. It did take an extra deck slot, Millennium Eyes Restrict. It's a level 1, so you can overlay for Moobait Fafnir if you have another level 1 extender. I was playing 3 Droll with this earlier, so sometimes I would Instant Fusion and the normal summon Droll and then make Moobait Fafnir, which can at least get my engine rolling a little bit. But I found that since Millennium Eyes Restrict must target a monster on the field or the graveyard, it was only able to hit stuff like Droll, Veiler, Ogre. It wasn't able to hit stuff like Infinite Impermanence, Cypher Gear Gamma, not that I can out Cypher Gear Gamma, or Nibiru. So all that stuff was resolving on top of my Millennium Eyes Restrict. And I figured that protection against Droll was not worth 1 slot in my extra deck, and it's just a power 1 of that you don't even get to see every game. All the other cards, it doesn't matter if you don't get to see them every game, because they're in and of themselves. This takes an extra deck slot, so I ended up cutting it. So just wanted to take note of that. So Crossout Designator replaced an Instant Fusion, and then I have the Called by the Grave totaling 3 protection cards. And here's the Called by the Grave, by the way, which can also be negated by Crossout Designator. And then finally, my last going second card, Metaverse. Patrick, why is Metaverse a going second card? Because when you're going second, you're facing an opponent's board. A lot of times, they'll either use their Spell and Trap Negation, or they flat out do not have Spell and Trap Negation at all. Example, the like Phantom Knights, for example. They will usually also have like a DPE if they Scythe you and stuff. But if they didn't have their Brave Engine access, then they're not negating a Spell and Trap. So you just activate this in standby phase, the Mystic Mine's on the field, their DPE comes back, they can no longer activate monster effects, and you get to accrue enough advantage such that you can OTK them or deck them out, whichever one comes first. So Metaverse is a going second card, and I really like it. Also, this can activate Drytron Fafnir. So, this interaction is important. This is a when effect. So, the last thing that needs to happen is the activation of this for you to get the search. So, this needs to be the last card in the chain. So, essentially, chain link 1. So, if you chain this to something, like a pop or something, then you better be going for Mystic Mine, because this will not be able to add. Just a note, that's never come up, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I knew that. All right, so that is the main deck, 42 cards. Foolish Burial was better when I was playing Fairy Tale Snow. I did cut this from the deck because I figured that mid to late game, if you're just dumping a Drytron monster, that's not giving you anything to tribute later. So I wanted to only play the consistency cards that actually allowed me to have something in my hand. So like Cyber Emergency Searches or Nova Special Summons. I cut Foolish Burial. I still have 18 names in the deck. This would be considered a name, but Eva is banned, and I don't think Fairy Tale Snow is correct in this deck, so I cut the Foolish Burial. There's no reason to dump anything in the deck. If you're missing pieces of your combo, then use your Drytron effects to dump them. All right, so extra deck. I used to play Dragoon, but I want to play the Floodgate version. So Destiny Hero, Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer. It doesn't really need any explanation. Fortunately for me, I did pull one, and I already had all of the Destiny Hero stuff from previous pack opening winnings and stuff, because I've been playing the game for quite a while. So when you do that, you accrue a bunch of material, and you end up with enough cards to actually have stuff. I don't know how to say that. Next up is Kiki Nagashi Fucho. So I wanted to use this over Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale because this it can't be interacted at all. This can be interacted. Sure, this attacks directly, and that's cute, and it can protect from battle damage or destruction. But what it doesn't protect from is bouncing with Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, Book of Mooning from the Fairy Tale Snow or Book of Moon, and it doesn't protect against banishing from the Tri-Brigade Omen. So I found myself getting outed constantly. So I cut this completely, and I went for Kiki Nagashi Fucho. Not only do I get to say this freaking name every time I play him, but I also have a 0/0 that is unaffected by other cards' effects. Then it has an effect to detach 2 materials, and for that turn, it can't be destroyed by battle, or and you take no damage. So essentially, this is the best. This is one of the best cards in the game. Because say you're like feeling your opponent has an out to your DPE, or your Verte, essentially. You can put up Mystic Mine and then summon Kiki Nagashi Fucho. They're not outing this. You don't even need the Mystic Mine. If you want to guarantee that you do not die, like if you're trying to go for a play in time, and you want to ensure that you do not die or take any damage, unless by effect damage, you can summon this and then try to Natasha steal your opponent's board and kill them and gain life points and stuff like that. Because if this is on the field with its 2 materials, your opponent is not killing you that turn because this is unaffected by card effects. And then also you could protect it by battle. And they can't negate that effect because it's unaffected by card effects. So the only way to out this is a Kaiju. So, I mean, it's like one of the best cards in the X deck. All right, I will continue with this, and I'll show the combo and everything in another video. So consider this part 1. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for part 2 and possibly part 3. I didn't realize I would be talking this freaking long, but subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.